I know.
No, but it's true. It's true. It makes a huge difference.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'll have to go to the other side of the dining room table in the middle and where I don't have any outlets or anything. Yeah, but that'll work. Not.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's get started. So we have a bunch of new people today, but first thing we do is we start with wins and celebrations. So who has something they would like to share or celebrate that they've been working on?
Come on.
Yeah, John, then Gary.
Okay, so I posted my first article to LinkedIn. I sent out probably 14 emails that had legitimate addresses to the American Hospital Association, and then I collected, I don't know if they're accurate, but I collected 14 more for the Children's Hospital Association. Again, I'm not getting any responses back because I don't know how accurate they are, but that's been my work so far.
Fantastic. Fantastic. All right, Gary, what are you working on? What wins have you had?
Martha and I are going to meet next week because we're going to go to that speakers video summit. So that's been taking up the bulk of my time. And the second rehearsal talk, this is a win within the context of this course. The second rehearsal got good marks from David. And then the third one was sort of like a shock because it said, "Oh, what happened between the second one and the third one?" And so I'm starting to panic. And then he clarifies it. He said, "It's just the introduction. You need to change. Everything else is great. You'll be fine." So to me, that was a win that I hadn't sabotaged things. I hadn't, scuttled everything. So
yeah, that's not a good first couple of words. What happened?
Yeah.
Well, for context, David was bragging about you guys in the call this morning in our team meeting. So he is super impressed with all the videos. He's really excited to get these finished products done because, yeah, you guys have really blown it out of the park this round. So
yeah, well, I tell you, I mean, it's from the beginning of this course to where I am now, it's just like a complete sea change. So I wanted to thank Stephanie, Michael, Sarah, David. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's just complete mind change. So
that's awesome. Anyway, way to go, Gary.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering, we have it's called the Speaker Video Summit. I think the website's speakervideosummit.com, but it's just an extra service that we offer that you guys can buy separately. And there is a special rate for those of you who are members, but you get your speaker video reel done, and I have to say they are spectacular. So if you're just curious, you can check them out there. Anyone else have some celebrations to do today? Yes, Martha.
I had a great air call yesterday with somebody I met through Steve, who's part of this group. Her name is Ruth Bond, and she is a former VP for Global Initiatives Women in the Workplace for all of Disney worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. And so that was really fun to talk to her and about specifically about presentation skills for women in tech. And because that's my niche, and she felt they were really needed, and gave me some great conferences that I referenced in this on the question. So I'll save those for that. But what was cool was to hear her talk about how when she was offered that job, she didn't feel like she could do it. You know, she felt like, oh my gosh, did I take this job? Maybe I can't do it, which is, I suspect, how a lot of us feel sometimes when in our work, like, should I really be doing this? It was just great to hear someone who was such a rock star share her vulnerability and know that she just like did it anyway. And just what you guys are teaching us to do, like, yep, you can do it, just do it.
Yeah. Very validating, isn't it, Martha? That's awesome. Who did you say gave you that referral? Steve Wolf?
Steve
Iacovelli.
Yes.
Iacovelli? Yeah, nice.
Really nice. And you know, I'm going to email her my one sheet as soon as it's done, and my 7 ways documents, so that she can have those and give me some feedback and perhaps connect me with some people that she knows in the tech field.
kudos, real quick thought is good for her, like you said, for being authentic and admitting her vulnerability. And good for you you must have had the presence to allow for that to happen, for her to feel comfortable in that. So that's a nice, I just wanted to point that out as well. Good for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's just as you guys are teaching, just be real on these calls.
Yeah.
The more we can just be real people supporting other real people, goes much better.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyone else have something they want to celebrate?
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, this goes way back because I started working on this about a year ago. But I got an email. I was following up with Temple Dental School, and they just told me that they want me for their commencement speech, probably 2021, but possibly for this year because it seems like they're having an issue with the person that they want for this year. So they said, if that's going to fall through, we definitely want you. If not, we want you for 2021. So that to me is really, really exciting.
Awesome. Wow.
I don't even know. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't even know if that's a paid gig or not a paid gig, but a commencement speech on your resume is just, I mean, who knows what that's going to open up? What kind of
Maybe
doors
they'll give you a free root canal.
Yeah.
By the students. Super.
Yeah, great.
What is your topic, Ari?
What?
What do you speak on?
I speak on the core of my talk is 9/11 because I'm a survivor. But I talk about a lot of it is surrounds work-life balance for the most part, and being a better you.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, so it fits right in with what they're looking for. So
sure does.
Hey, I'll take it every day of the week.
Mm.
So it didn't come through this group, or through this, but it's a win, and I'll take it. But
now you've been through the modules, so now you know how to initiate a conversation about getting paid for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you know how to navigate those waters. So, or at least it's going to be a good practice run. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Anyone else want to share?
Especially, I'm new to the group, but I've been on a 1-year non-compete embargo that ended last week. And I don't know how you all feel, but I know a year's a long space, and I didn't know how many of the people who had previously done work would be open. And I received an opportunity to bid on a major set of speeches in my area of small business. So I thought that was a pretty good win.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't directly related to the stuff you were doing in this course yet, but it's the momentum, right? It's like you declare that you're starting to do this work, and then, stuff starts to happen. So awesome, Rob. And thanks for sharing. It's celebrate you for sharing on your first call. And
I was just going to say, call number 1, have a success already. Way to go, Rob.
Yeah, beautiful. And welcome, David, Rob, to your first call. Sakuma, I think you were here last week, right? I think, but if not, welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe you were. So is there anyone else here? Carla was here last week.
Yep.
Ari was here last week. Awesome. So awesome. Let's go into our question queue. It looks like we have 3 questions today.
So Martha, you always ask good questions. During an air call, I learned about the conference board and the resource group conferences. How and when would I approach these groups in terms of presentation skills for tech sector? How and when would I approach them? What do you mean?
Well,
any other time but now?
Yeah, I felt so overwhelmed when I looked at the website for the it was for the resource group conferences. I can't remember which one, but I looked at it, and all their presenters are like from Harvard and Columbia and Bank of America. They have some pretty heavy hitters. These are the conferences I found out about from Ruth Bond, the contact from Disney. And I thought, well, I don't have any of those credentials. How is this even going to fit? And I think I've shared that really I like to do training. I like to teach people in small groups how to how to up-level their presentation skills, find their voice, all that stuff you guys know about me. I don't know how to translate that to a conference stage. I mean, I'm wondering if it's even should be a sales tool for me. I'm questioning that.
When you say should be a sales tool for you, what was that? What did you mean by that?
I've heard you guys talk about speak at conferences to get gigs, to get training gigs.
And you're wondering if what exactly?
If I would be a good fit for some of these big conferences, because they're pulling in, they're pulling in really heavyweight people. And so I thought, I felt like a fish out of water when I looked at their website.
Okay.
That's how I felt.
Yeah, well, again, kind of along the line with what we were talking about earlier, thank you for your authenticity. This does happen. Number one, I would just be, I would revisit it again and be careful not to allow other people's credentials affect you. And maybe a cool exercise. You might work with your coach. You might just make a list of, just for your own self, I love to do this. Just kind of make your internal resume, like what makes you special, what makes you unique, and just remind yourself at what makes you special. And there could be, don't lose out on the fact that at any given time they could be looking for something unique, and that's a perfect fit for you. And so I would be careful, and this goes for all of you. Don't be intimidated. It can't hurt to reach out, to risk rejection, as we always do. But you have a unique skill set that these people don't have. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I think it's important, or we think it's important for all of us, and David talks about this, to be aware of what kind of speaker we are. Are we a center stage keynote type speaker? Are we more of a trainer? I think it's important for you to be aware of what you gravitate to. However, don't think that you couldn't translate your more training style to a bigger stage. There are ways to do that. That doesn't mean you have to or you should, but if you want to, there are ways, and that's something you could again work on with one of us. There's a way to do that. If you make a conscious decision, no, that's not for me, then that's a whole different game. But just be sure you're not doing that because you're intimidated of doing it when you really want to. I'll kind of pause there for now and see how that resonates.
Yeah, I think it does resonate. I think it's just something that's further clarity is needed, because I know where I really shine is in those more intimate relationships, like being on the phone with this woman from Disney. That's a piece of cake for me. I can really have an intimate conversation with someone that I just met. That's just one of my talents. And but I do definitely feel intimidated about being at some of these larger conferences with these people with these heavyweight credentials / careers. And it does feel like foreign territory. So I guess the question is it needed?
Yeah, no. The short answer is it's not. You could reach out to them and still offer your training, right? Just because you saw whatever you found out there, what these had spoken and what forum they spoke at the conference. Were they keynote type? The people
they were listed under speakers, not trainers. Do conferences have trainers as well?
Yep. Was that a question?
Yes.
Yeah, they might not break them out. They might not call them speakers versus trainers, but typically at these conferences, again, you have the keynote where all of the people are attending. Maybe there's a morning keynote, there's sometimes a lunch keynote and a dinner keynote. And then during the day, there's concurrent sessions where people are more trainer-like. But the conference doesn't necessarily break them out and call one speakers and one trainers. But
I see.
Just think, everybody remember that term, concurrent sessions. That's where people are choosing which breakout they want to go to. And that might be more what you're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. as an example, I never spoke on a keynote stage. It was never a desire of mine. And of course, there's thousands of other people that choose which stage they want to go to, or both.
That is really helpful, Michael. I really feel comfortable with those breakout sessions, because that's, in terms of coaching presentation skills, that's where that work really gets done anyway.
Perfect. That sounds like it's more congruent for what your skill set is.
Yes.
But do you see the difference between deciding, you know what, I'm a smaller, more intimate group, that's where my power is, that's what I love, that's where my confidence is, versus, oh boy, I'd really love to be on the big stage, but I'm a little intimidated and I don't know if I could ever get there. Two very different choices.
Two very different things. Yeah. And I work with performance anxiety all the time with my clients. That's a big thrust of my work. So
you of all people know the difference.
I know the difference. Yeah. And that it's not coming from that place. It's really coming from this is where my work lives, is in that, 20 to 30 size group.
Perfect. Very powerful.
I love that. Concurrent sessions, breakout sessions. So I would just be in touch with, say, the conference organizer and say, are you looking for trainers for concurrent sessions or breakout sessions?
Yep, you could do that. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Such a good question. Okay, let's talk about Gary's question here. Basically sidetracked by a whole bunch of different things. Curious about how others deal with things when they lose focus or momentum so they can reconnect, be re-engaged, put the initial effort back into the training. So Gary, in this crowd today, we have a few people who are just starting the training, so they might not have gone through that yet. But I think this is a super important question of what they could do, and certainly what you can do now if you do in fact lose focus. So I will open it up in a second to everyone else, but then the number one thing I think is most important is tapping into why you joined this program in the first place. So do you want to share that?
No.
No?
No, of course I do.
Yeah, you don't have to. It could be personal, but I assume you're open to sharing.
It was a work release program from.
Yeah. Oh, good.
No, it was. I had sort of like labored over this for 20 years, literally like 20 years from joining Toastmasters and always thinking about doing this. And then when we sold our bed and breakfast, I had a little bit of extra cash and was able to say, what is it that I really wanted to do? And this was it. So that was part of it. Writing, I'm also a writer, and that sort of is going into diminishing returns. It's a lot of work for a little amount of money, and I'm at a point now where I thought, hey, I've got some information I can share. I just didn't know how to do it. So I sort of crossed the Rubicon, and I'm here now. And it was going full tilt, and then the holidays came, and then this other stuff has come. So for the last month, it's just been sort of treading water, and getting it's like, I know I need to go back to the modules. I know I need to do the MMA stuff. I know I need to do this, but it's like my MMA now is meeting this deadline, so it's everything sort of topsy-turvy.
Mm-hmm. So we'll get to the other stuff in a sec, but if we just tap into why you wanted to join this program in the first place. So whenever you do something like this, it's important to have a really compelling why, something that's going to help you make it through. If you just, I heard in your sentences just now, a lot of need to, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. And that really puts you on this distraction, procrastination. You can go a lot, I need to do this, but this other thing is pretty fun, so I'm going to do that instead. Or it's going to be, when it's a need to, it's going to be the most urgent thing that gets done first. I need to do this, but this is due tomorrow, so I got to do this right now,
Exactly. Yeah. If you could just clarify that, Stephanie, because I sort of lost track of what you were saying.
Sure.
Because I was just sort of spitting a bunch of stuff out there.
So when you think back to why you joined the program, if you just joined it out of obligation, then it's always just going to be this obligation, right? And I know you didn't, but right. There's, then it's going to compete with all of these other obligations. But if you can think to why this really matters, and not why it really matters for the next 3 months, but why it really matters for the next like 3 years or 5 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years, exactly. So if we can really reconnect to that, right? Really reconnect to that. And then you kind of can filter things out, right? You say, okay, but I could do this, and I could do this, but like this really matters. And if you really tap into that, like this really matters. This is my livelihood. This is my life satisfaction. This is my life's work. And all those other wonderful things you said about, this was 20 years in the making for you.
Yeah.
So first of all, how does that feel? Like tapping into really why you joined in the first place?
Oh,
there's more to it, but.
Yeah, I'm right in line with why I joined, because I mean, I can't go backwards. I'm only going in one direction. So that's the good thing. It's just some of these things, like the one of the obligations was this sculpture that we had commissioned. That's been going on for a year and a half, and it finally came to fruition. And this other book deadline is something that has to be done because it's a deadline project. But it's those little things. Life gets in the way of stuff I need to be doing. And it's frustrating because it's sort of like, I want to clear that stuff off. And then you get this dissonance going where it's like, I should be doing this, but I have to do that to get that out of the way. And that also holds true for the Speaker Video Summit. I've got to rehearse that and get that all set. I've got to get a haircut. I've got to get clothes. It's all of those things. But I just want to know how others have done it. When they're sort of ignoring the modules, the MMA, the air conversations, and the other stuff that I've had to sort of put on the back burner for a few weeks, because it sort of spooks me that if I don't get back on track soon, I might sort of forget that how important it is. It's it's like going off a diet.
Michael,
quickie question.
Yes.
Gary, name one thing, you just mentioned a bunch of them, that you kind of want to be doing but you aren't. Just one.
You as it relates to this?
Yeah.
Doing the air conversations and doing the making activities. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you use for a day planner, like for your schedule?
Usually this.
Okay. So do you have in your day timer a time to do air conversations?
No, because I've been on deadline for this book, which takes like 18 hours a day.
Okay. Well, that, just real quick, I would suggest that is one thing. You're asking for some kind of tools or advice, and what other people have done. As you know, everybody has deadlines. Life gets in the way for everybody. We're all in the same boat. That's the good news. But I would just suggest one tool would be carve out time, no matter what, no matter how many other things you have to do. If you declare that air conversations are of the utmost importance, then you have to carve out the time, and you do it when it gets to that time, no matter what else you have going on, unless there's an emergency. The book, for example, has to wait for that 30 minutes.
Good idea. Great idea.
Yeah. And if you don't do it, then you're deciding it is not as important as you thought it was.
Yeah. Michael, thank you very much. I think that's right. Because I don't put it down because I literally wake up thinking I've got to get this thing. In fact, the book is past due, and it's just like, so that adds to the anxiety of it all. But
just one example.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my internet's losing you here, guys. No, that's okay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there because when the internet cut out. So Gary, so that's a tool, carving it out no matter what. And I think it's important for all of you guys to remember that at every moment you're in choice, right? You get to choose how you spend every moment. And we're all going to choose different things. There some of us who are really, tapped into the things that are important, won't let other things distract us. But I mean, a really important thing too, Gary, is that sometimes we just take on more than we should all at one time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you sign up for a program, and so this is like for a lesson moving forward, when you sign up for something, you have to look at all of the things that you're committed to, right? And decide if this is the right time or not, and then make the space to make it happen. I know originally when you joined, you were working on this tons, like you fully dove in. So something, you know, like you said, the distractions got in the way, but that was stamina to keep going just until the end. The next few weeks, there isn't that long, right? So just that stamina to keep going and really honor that commitment you made to yourself and to your business and to your future. You know, before kind of burning out from it.
And the nice thing is I'm not burned out. In fact, I'm probably increasingly energized by it. It's with the video summit, that goes off on a different track, but the clarification of my message now is good as well. It's just dividing up the hours in the day and then being able, like Michael said, you know, put it down, emphasize it, and do it. Regardless of everything else, take all the other considerations out and do that. So another trick for that, when you're writing it in your day timer, you want to write it in a way that is motivating to you, right? So if MMA is motivating to you, money-making activities, if that phrase is motivating to you, then that would be what you would write. Or it's kind of like build my future, you know, whatever that means. You're going to put a phrase in your day planner or wherever it is that taps into why you're doing this, because you don't want to put like 1 hour of cold calling, you know, in your calendar, and you're going to look at that and go, oh, like feel like really dread it, right? Not that you're cold calling, and not that we recommend that as a strategy, but as an extreme example. Sure.
You want to make sure that it feels really motivating. Second tip, and then we'll ask everyone else kind of what tips you have, but a second tip I have is always put a backup time in your calendar. So if you have like, okay, first thing when I get up, I'm doing my MMAs, right, which probably isn't, because you're probably not going to talk to people right first thing in the morning. But if that's your time block, then you can have a backup time block of like, then what happens is when you put off that first one, you know you're going to have to do it in that second one. That second one's usually like, I could be sleeping, I could be out to dinner with my family, I could be like, there's usually something you want to do more, and that's your backup time block. So if you skip that first one, it's like an extra motivation to be like, if I skip this one, I'm going to have to skip this other thing that I think is really important.
Right.
So I better just hunker down and do this right now.
Good.
I like to have that as a backup, especially people writing a book, if they're not motivated or writing something, not motivated. So yeah. So maybe hear from like two people, 3 people, if you guys have any other tips for Gary.
Thanks.
John, you had your hand up.
I always like this phrase, the motivation comes after doing something. Like nobody's really motivated to go on a diet until they've started it or exercise. And I'm a former music teacher, and I always told my kids too, if you could find 5 minutes, it's amazing what you can get done in 5 minutes if you're focused, because 5 minutes on top of 5 minutes on top of 5 minutes over the course of the day or the course of several days adds up. And I find if I get myself into a 5-minute block, then I might go longer. But I also used to do roofing, and this friend of mine said a shingle down is a shingle down. I went, that's really profound, because eventually you get a roof. So if you do a 5-minute block here, a 5-minute block here, eventually you get some momentum from doing that too. And the motivation comes after you do it rather than before sometimes.
That's great, John. You know, when I've worked on projects in the past, writing projects, I'll say, I just don't have time to do this. And I'll say, I'm just going to work on this for 10 minutes. And then 2 hours later, I'm still working on it, because you get in the zone and you do it. But that's a great reminder. I haven't thought of that one in a long time. Thank you.
Leslie, what are your motivation tips?
I have I don't have a tip, and so maybe we'll save this for a question later. My question was, what if
Leslie, is it related to John or Gary?
It's related, yes, but in the opposite way. Like, instead of spending 5 minutes, has anyone ever done where they just spend all day on one thing? So like, so you spend all day doing air conversations, and then the next day you spend all day just writing the article. Has anyone in the group ever rolled that way?
Heck yeah.
Because I don't do switching. So that kind of works, doing that?
I think that's an awesome idea, and an awesome point too. Yes.
There's a saying that I love, that there's what works and there's what works for you, right? So carving 5 minutes out, like John said, I love that. A shingle down is a shingle down. That works. If Gary seemed to adapt that, great. I don't work that way. So like when I wrote my book, I could never take 50 minutes. So to me, I'd rather carve out a weekend and go off to a hotel somewhere and work the whole weekend and bang out 15 hours on it. Everybody's different. There's no right or wrong other than not doing it, right? So you just got to figure out your best way. Yeah. Your best way is that way, Leslie, then that's it.
I was thinking I might hire somebody to do it.
Thank you.
But, all right. Hey, thank you all very much.
Keep us posted, Gary. I want to hear some celebrations on Thursdays.
Oh, yeah. I'll be in DC on Thursday.
Oh, right. Yes, but
I'm going to try to get in. Try to call in.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. Okay.
Rob has a primary question. So I speak, train, and coach small businesses to achieve peak performance and still have a life, and could use help in changing to a more customer-centric promise statement. I am currently reading Sam Horn's POP, is that right, POP, to assist. What other prompts, tools, or resources do you suggest? Rob, being that you're new to the program, have you dived, is that the right word, dived into the material yet?
I'm 2 days into it. I've got one module under. If you tell me the module I should be going to, I'd be very interested in following.
Perfect, because the good news is that the modules will absolutely tell you this. So Stephanie, can I defer to you to the most perfect module? I'm thinking like,
yeah, I'll just look it up. I think it's 2, messaging, I believe is number 2. The first one's clarity and then messaging. I don't know. I'll look it up as we're
right at the beginning. Yeah, so she'll look up the exact one, Rob, but to the extent we can help you a little bit right here, we're happy to do that. And when I read your question, I went, oh, perfect. That's covered in the material, and I think that's probably all you need. Do you have a follow-up question to that? Do you want any feedback from us on this, knowing that, of course, you will get to the answer in the material?
I think the best use for everybody is let me hit the module, and I'll talk to you on Thursday.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go. There you go. We can help you refine it or give you feedback on what you come up with.
Thank you.
Module 3. But 2 will also help, but 3 is your primary one there.
Okay.
And this might apply to your second question too. My target market is small and mid-sized businesses that serve other businesses. This can be a broad spectrum of organizations. Just kind of getting the sense here. It's my thought that each opportunity. So can you just simplify this for us, Rob?
Sure. I think Morgan does it remarkably well. Associations first or niche clients first?
Whichever. Just kind of dumb it down for us right now and ask us the question.
I'm sorry, I wasn't clear. The question is
it's not that you're not clear, Rob. It's just rather than me read out loud a fairly long question, it's probably best just to hear you ask it.
Michael, should I focus on associations first, or should I focus on niche individual businesses first?
Well, okay, thank you. See, that was very helpful. So let me just make sure I understand. Focus on associations that cater to your target market or go directly for your target market? Is that
Well stated.
okay? If great question. I don't like to give specific advice. It's, of course, you can do either or. I would tend to go after the associations that cater to your target market first. I think going after your audience directly is also very beneficial. But the beautiful thing about associations, especially that you have a specific target market, there's going to be multiple clients at every association that you might speak to. So it's bigger bang for the buck, potentially.
Thank you very much.
Is that good for now?
That's good for now.
Yeah. Does everybody get that? Because that comes up fairly often. More often it's posed in the question of, there's the association market and there's the corporate market. Going after the corporations directly. What should I go after first? So just to kind of summarize it for everybody, offering to speak to your target market, directly to your audience. Let's just say your audience is hospitals. Offering to speak to a hospital. That's one way to go, and a great way to go. Another way to go is to speak to the National Association of Hospital Administrators, say, for example. Okay, is that better or worse? I don't know if it's better or worse, but on the association side, you might speak to a group of 80 hospital association administrators. You do a good job, and then they're going to go back and potentially bring you into their specific hospitals. I'll leave it there. Any questions or comments on the pros and cons of those?
So Rob, when you go through modules, you'll see under prospecting, there are lots of different strategies to get your clients. And so one of the strategies is like approaching associations, right? And so you'll kind of look when you're going through the modules, and there's a lot of new people here, so this will be really helpful. When you're going through the modules, you're going to kind of filter through those prospecting strategies based on which ones are the easiest for you to do, which one you maybe already have contacts in, where your skills lie. So a great example is, Martha really loves talking to people, and Gary really loves writing. So Gary's probably going to do things strategies, and Martha's going to do the talking strategies. And that's very overly simplistic, because I know Gary's also doing talking strategies, but it's just, you're going to filter through those prospecting strategies based on what seems easiest and most reasonable for you. And we can certainly talk more one-on-two as you get to that, as you really get down to the nitty. But yeah, we're not trying to get you to pick strategies that feel really hard or feel like impossible or feel that like they wouldn't work for you. So you want to pick ones that feel easiest.
Thank you.
Rob, real quick, I know, Rob, you want to refine things more, and I just want to commend you. I like already that you're focused in a particular area. So you're coming to this, I don't know how long you've been doing this, but you're coming to this group with some experience and specificity already, so that'll bode well as you get through the modules.
So Ari kind of asked a follow-up question. What if you don't have a specific target market? And I would say for that, Ari, and this is, again, something a lot of you come to this course with. Oh, actually, I'd say at least, 50%, Michael,
yeah, at least,
don't have a target at least. And this is something we'll work on to refine for you. And so here's a couple things. So first of all, and sorry, my video isn't on, my internet is just cutting out a little bit. But first of all, you technically, yeah, I guess you could never choose a target market, but you're going to find this course very overwhelming if every strategy could be to any business, any association in the entire world. So people find they get very paralyzed if they don't just kind of pick a path to explore. So even if you don't want to work with hospitals your whole career, for example, just deciding that for the next, month, I'm going to really pursue hospitals makes your research a lot easier. It makes your message a lot easier. It makes your referrals really great because you can you talk to one hospital and say, hey, who else should I be talking to? And then they refer you to another one. So one reason, even if you never, like for your whole career, even if you never chose a target market, which I still don't suggest, but just for the sake of this course, picking one and going down the path is just going to make the course feel a lot less overwhelming. So that's one really important thing to think about. And then the second thing, I mean, David does a good job of explaining, I think it's like 7 reasons to own a niche, I think is what it's, what the lesson is called. It might be 7 or 8 or something, but it really does, as you become known for something in your career, really does start to snowball. So Ari, your message is very specific, like you're known, you know, as the 9/11 survivor. So that's cool. So that might be a good way to start like narrowing things down anyways, like you've already kind of done that. But Martha, for example, has her topic is presentation skills, performance anxiety. She could talk to basically any business ever, probably, and never narrow it down. But man, is Martha killing it right now because she narrowed it down to tech. Like it is just it's blowing out of control. So I know that was a bit of a rant. Ari, what are you thinking?
No, I mean, I'm thinking that my message is a universal message. And like I said, I've spoken to real estate companies. I've spoken to bankers associations, but the credit unions. Now I'm going to speak at a dental school. I mean, there are, you know, it's such a universal message that it really fits for anybody. And the issue is, I guess, you know, I guess you're right in the sense that I have to, you know, I'm probably better off if I pick a specific target market and then, you know, go with that and, you know, see where it takes me, I guess.
If you were, Ari, just for fun, real quick right now, if you were to just say, if you could only speak to one specific group for the rest of your life, what would it be? I know it's a hard question, but
yeah, that is a very difficult question.
Yeah. Another one might be who most needs this message. Everybody does, but like, can you refine who really, really benefits from it?
You know, no.
Okay. So those are some questions to just ask yourself further, you know, after the call, and that might help you. I would agree with Stephanie. You don't have to narrow your message. And I bet your business would grow at a more rapid rate if you do, at least for now. And then you can always adapt, you know, because the deeper you go in a market, the bigger your business will be, generally speaking. And then you always adapt that to another market once you really penetrate one. And by the way, everybody, this is a passion of mine. I've taught this for 18 years. So I just want to say, even if you choose a target market, that doesn't mean you won't get business outside of your target market. Your phone will still ring and you take that business. So one of the beauties of being specific, you almost get more business outside of your market by focusing on a market than you do trying to be all things to all people. Not to say that's what you're doing, Ari, but just something to think about.
No, I hear you. Look, I'm very excited about the gig that I'm doing in Dallas. That's an association. There are going to be 2,200 people there, and they're all club managers in some way, shape, or form of, you know, large clubs and smaller clubs. And I think that's going to be a good opportunity to, you know, to drive more business. So that might be the area that I'm going to focus on once this conference is over. You know, it's probably an area that I'm going to focus on and see what I can build over there.
Is it the CMAA?
Yes.
Oh my God, we got to talk, Ari. I used to be a member of that.
Hey, yeah. I'm always available.
I used to be a club manager. I did not. Good for you. That'll be awesome for you.
Yeah. Then if you were that, then we really should talk.
Yeah. Shoot me an email. I'll visit with you.
Okay. Absolutely.
I can help you with an air conversation for sure.
Oh my God. Okay. Is your
Michael at Do It Marketing.
Michael.
Oh, it's Michael at
doitmarketing.com.
doitmarketing.com. Okay, great.
So,
right after this call, I'm gonna do that.
So one thing to think about, so we so often like get stuck in that we have to narrow our market based on an industry, and that isn't even necessarily true. So I'm just thinking about someone in the course earlier who based their research on the most innovative companies, for example. Or you can, I've worked with people before who based their on language, like Spanish speaking companies and stuff like that. You can base your target market on size and values, or Carla wrote in here, like industries with high human touch or industries that are high risk. You don't have to say, I'm only working with banks for the rest of my life, and banks, and I got to know about banks, blah, blah, blah. But, you could say, what really lights me up? Like, who do I like to be around? What kind of people do I like to be around? And what kind of companies do people work for? And start to think about how you can solve problems in those places. The innovation is a good example. Maybe, companies who have the best, like the best employee, like the best places to work, for example, the places that care the most about their employees. There are tons of lists out there that kind of start to list out companies based on values. And that does get a little more challenging. They're harder to find. So in your research, you're going to have to be doing a little, rather than, list of all banks in America, you do have to do a little more research, but you can end up with some really, some niches that really just make you smile and excited to work. Is that helpful?
Very much so.
Good.
Oh, Ari, I was just going to add, Stephanie and Michael have been like super helpful in what Stephanie was just talking about. One of my things is travel. I like to encourage people to travel because you can always find a lot of answers out there in motivational talks and everything else. And then I started just looking up companies that offer sabbaticals, not just 2-week vacations, but like 3-month and 6-month sabbaticals to their employees. So I'm thinking, hey, they might want to hear my message about encouraging people to travel. So, once you start to, peel back this stuff, it's really amazing. Like Stephanie said, all of the different, routes that you can follow to find an audience.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so usually on Tuesdays we talk about the things that you guys have been learning and discovering, but I wanted to spend just a couple minutes today talking about, Gary, you just really made me think about the importance of celebrating the progress that you've made and celebrating all the wins along the way. I mean, we do that every call, of course. We ask you to celebrate what you've been doing, and you can share that publicly with the group. And, sometimes people feel comfortable doing it and sometimes people don't. But we don't do it to toot our horns or anything. We do it because it's really, really important that you guys see your progress along the way and that you are celebrating as things happen, because as a business, it can be really discouraging. I mean, who's experienced that? Like you're working in isolation. You're just kind of like working away. Often you're not talking to people, and you can get really, caught up in your own head. Your brain starts to play tricks on you. Just like Martha was saying, like, I'm not, how am I to like play with these heavy hitters and whatnot? So, and then yet Martha talks to someone from Disney, like, so we all, I feel like I'm calling you out a lot today, Martha. I hope you don't mind, but it just like, can you guys see how important it is to right from the very beginning, you've just joined, like right from the very beginning, to start celebrating every milestone. Like you just finished the modules, you just made your first connection, you've figured out your message or your elevator pitch. Do you guys have a habit of doing this? Do you celebrate things regularly? What's your experience with this?
I'll say something because that's who I am. I mean, usually, when I get a win, and I'm not talking about like, oh, great, I just made a contact or something like that. I'm talking about, when I get a gig, all right, that's when, I celebrate with my wife. We talk about, hey, just got a great gig, and she's, oh, I'm so happy, it's going great. The business is going great. She is my biggest cheerleader. All right. And that's really important. My kids too, by the way. It's interesting because when my kids were single, so every so often if I'd have a gig somewhere outside, where I have to travel, they all wanted to come with me. And I always took one with me, just to have somebody afterwards to literally celebrate with, because when you finish that gig, all right, you're really high, but the low can get you down really, really fast. Cause like, okay, so what's next? I don't have anything, but if you've got somebody there with you to celebrate with, it is absolutely amazing. It's incredible. So those are my feelings, as far as wins are concerned.
I love that. Super. So you've been very intentional about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that I'll add quick. Thank you. Is kind of brings me back to what Gary his struggle at the beginning of the call, or when we were talking about managing our time, and just like focusing on. Sometimes we get so caught up in the minutia, we forget the big picture, and I think that's where you were going, Stephanie, with the why. So like, I'm using Gary as an example here. In another week or so, when is the video summit? You're going to have, Martha, too, an incredible speaker demo video that is going to make a massive difference in your career. Massive. I mean, you need to have that, and you're going to have one. So yeah, you might not be doing something else because you got to get your hair cut and you got to buy clothes and you got to practice and do the video, but all that is big stuff in the progression of your business. So lose sight of those things, you guys. It's like we have a tendency to, oh, for crying out loud, I got this video summit coming up and I'm not able to do this, this, and this. That's one way to look at it. And another way to look at it is, wow, every day that goes by, I'm getting closer to having this great video that's going to be a great tool in my business. And that's just an example. For those of you not going to the summit, we all have things like this and how to focus on them.
Yeah, Carla, were you gonna?
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is, for me, what happened is, last week I was making a lot of calls just to get air, to make connection. And the call I had Friday was really insightful. I mean, it highlighted for me some things that I need to do on messaging. One person said, oh, I know you have this new CEO blog, but I thought you were talking about the new CEO at the company. Okay, fine, we'll fix that. So there was a messaging issue, so it was good feedback. But I also walked away realizing that sometimes we can get in our own way by being so creative that you really need to dial it back and get a lot more structured and regimented. And for me, that was an aha moment. It was like, wait a minute. When you're prepping for these calls, start asking, the preparation needs to be less on the questions, because you should have a standardized set of questions, and more on what about the company and the person. That's your prep. So for me, that was, oh, wait a minute, I can shortcut some stuff that I'm doing. And if you don't step back and kind of have a moment where you think about the fact that I potentially could have turned that person into a customer, and I didn't do it. Why? Because you weren't prepared. Why? Because you didn't have your questions laid out the right way. And so it was just kind of an aha moment for me to say, okay, so last night, yeah, it took a while to get it done. I was thinking I was going to shut down for the day. I said, no, you have to hit that target. So you're going to get those questions done. It's going to be a draft. It's not going to be perfect, but let's just get it on paper so you can then come back and look at what are those standard set of questions that you want to have. And do you want to format it differently so that you do actually use it, as opposed to just have it there, but you don't really use it? So those were some ahas for me this week.
And that's something super worth celebrating. You kept a commitment to yourself to get something done when we so often don't keep commitments to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And B, how much time and effort did you save yourself in the future? And C, like, you'll probably get more business because of it. So there you go.
Exactly. So, I mean, to me, using the air calls, you know, there's top line stuff you're going to get, but then there's, you know, below the line stuff that you're going to realize. And I felt like if I hadn't had that call with that person, then I wouldn't have realized this.
Beautiful.
So it's worth doing.
Mm-hmm. Martha, what were you going to share?
One of the strategies that I like to use that really works for me is I like to write an affirmation for myself pretty much every week. And I work with affirmations and centering tools with my clients. So it's like, well, I should work with it for myself too. And I just write it right on top of my day timer. So it's sort of like my theme for the week. And it keeps me on track. So for instance, this week's, because I'm going to the Speaker Video Summit, leaving on Thursday, seeing some friends first, and then heading to LA, I've been affirming calmness and confidence radiate from every fiber of my being. And that's just like written right out there. And it is a way of celebrating what I'm doing. Because, you know, we're talking about how do we keep ourselves on track and how do we celebrate the things we're doing. And I so appreciated your comments, Michael, on really validating for us how much effort and time and what a achievement it will be for us to have these speaker videos, that we need to reframe that from, oh my God, I get all this stuff that I have to do and I have to practice and I gotta get my confidence monitor slides done and blah, 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 to this is going to be as good as like when I launched my website, you know?
Big time.
So that was really great. But I think just having an affirmation, a weekly affirmation that helps us stay really focused on what it is we're working on for that week and what we're celebrating that week, it works for me.
Good.
So good, guys. I work with another woman whose kind of whole thing is winning the day. Because every single day we have wins. It doesn't matter if they're little or big. You book the biggest gig of your career, or frankly, you just got out of bed that day. You know, sometimes that's what it is. And when you focus on winning the day, you focus, you know, how can I win today? What can I do to really win today? I just find that so powerful. So hope you guys, as you know, as you're thinking about, you know, motivation and getting through this stuff and all of these little things that it's going to take to really build your business, I hope you can really take the time to remember what you're doing it all for, and remember that, yeah, those wins are important, even if they're not ginormous every single day.
I'm writing that down. Win the day. That's big.
This lady I know, she says you face 100 battles a day. She said pick 3, win 1, and go to bed happy.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, you guys, it's been a great call. Thank you for the lovely questions and the discussion as well. So remember, for Thursday to submit your questions ahead of time, spfquestion.com. And I look forward to seeing you then. See ya.